We're here on the third segment where we're talking about senior housing with Isabelle Guarino. Before we get into anything, Isabelle, I'm so glad you're here for this third and final installment, although I'd love to talk to you even longer. But thanks for hanging out with us.
I love it. Let's get into it.
So the first one, we talked about cash flow as it relates to senior housing, and we're going to have you define that just really quickly, just to kind of summarize everything. And then the second was doing a conversion of senior housing, meaning making a senior housing. Let's say you have a single family residence and you want to really start making some money. You could turn it into a senior family home with, who knows, 5, 6, 7 people who are seniors who can hopefully line your pockets with cash flow. And then now we're going to talk about just in general that market, meaning senior housing. So, why don't we get into kind of summarizing the first two things we talked about, and then we'll get rocking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Isabelle.
In the beginning, we talked about how the average cost of care in our country today is around $5,500 per month per resident. And because you're allowed to have somewhere between 6 and 16 residents in your home, depending on where you live across the country, most of these homes are cash flowing 10 grand a month or more on average for you as the owner of the real estate and operator of the business, which I only spend about 5 hours a week on my care homes. And that's what I show people how to do at the Residential Assisted Living Academy. We also talked about the 4 ways to get started. Like you mentioned, converting a single family home into an RAL. And you can do that through leasing a home to use for this, building custom from the ground up, converting a single family home, or buying an existing one, since there's 30,000 of these that already exist across our country today.
How many? I didn't know that. How many?
30,000.
So those are 30,000 people who decided to move a house where they were throwing out money, throwing away $2,500 a month or whatever the case is. And now they're making it so they're making thousands of dollars. Yeah. So those are big numbers. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. We actually are responsible for 61% of all the beds for assisted living that exist in our country today. There's only about 1.2 million beds total. And if you know anything, and I know this is what we're going to talk about on this next section, is just like why and how big this opportunity is. Currently, the silent generation lives in assisted living. There's about 44 million of them, but there's 76 million baby boomers. And we are currently today 1.3 million beds short. And
let's talk about that. That's huge right there. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
This segment might be a little bit longer. So we are beds short. Like I know in Florida, as an example, I'm doing a project in Florida, and I know that they're massively underbedded, if you will.
Yeah.
There's not even close to enough people. So explain that statistic. You're representative of 60% of the senior housing in the U.S. Is that right?
Yeah.
What was the number there?
Yes. Our residential assisted living homes represent 61% of all the beds that exist across our country today.
Whoa. Okay. That blows me away. And there's a shortage, and that's really where you come into play.
Yeah.
Basically helping people to kind of make that transition or get into that world as a foundation, then helping them as students, correct?
Absolutely. Because people will say all the time, well, if this is, so great, why don't you just own 100 of them? Why don't you just own 1,000 of them?
Yeah.
I could do that all day long, right? You could do that too, but I wouldn't even make a dent. If I spent every day for the rest of my life just opening one care home at a time, I wouldn't make a dent. The better use of my time is to encourage and impact other people, for all of us to own and operate at least one of these. So not only can you cash flow, but we also all have a place for our own loved ones to go if and when they ever need care and assistance, because
I know
what's out there is not good.
I was thinking about that because, well, God forbid, hopefully my parents will never be in that situation. Obviously they will, but why not start a home, keep them in it, and then bring other people in it, and then therefore it could basically pay for itself and put some money in my pocket down the road. Absolutely. And I can control their situation.
Absolutely. That's exactly why we got started. My grandmother needed this, and that's what sparked the whole thing.
Huh. All right, so let's talk about profit potential. Obviously, now we're talking about the third segment. We haven't talked about profit potential in this one. Let's go over some of the kind of nitty gritty. Why, answering the question, why senior housing? Obviously, we know there's a shortage, but let's talk about profit. Let's talk profit. Let's talk money. Let's say I own, making up a number, 5 of these, and then I have 8 beds in each, just making up a number. How much theoretically could I be netting at the end of the day? I know that's a gross example, but I'm going to throw it out.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to have 8 residents in the home, then you'll probably be somewhere around that seven to $10,000 a month. And if you had
Mhm.
5 of them, you'd be right under 50 grand. So that's a
Mm.
definite possibility. In our training, we really focus on everyone having a 3 pack, 3 homes within 20 to 40 minutes of each other, because when you're going to do this, you're going to have caregivers who work shift work, usually a 10 or 12-hour shift. And it's kind of like a nurse, right? They're on 3,
Okay.
off 4, but they're not off those other 3 or 4. If you don't have a second home, they're working for Joe Schmo down the road, 3 or 4 days for you, 3 or 4 days for him. So if you have multiple homes, they get to stay in the same work culture and environment, right? You're not paying
Mm.
overtime, and they're happy to do 3 or 4 shifts there, 3 or 4 shifts there, and it all kind of is a win-win. So it's easier the more you have, because you can share your resources, share your staff.
And what you're talking about, these are 1099. No, they can be 1099 or W-2 employees, either one, right?
Your caregivers would be W-2, your
Mm.
administrator would be 1099, because they're on call 24/7. So we don't want to pay them hourly.
Oh, I see. I see. Plus, they can work for other vendors as well.
Exactly.
So give me some other. Wow. So right now I'm just seeing upside, but I should go into things wide open because again, a lot of the people who are watching, listening to this vast cast, if it's a webinar or whatever the case is, they're well heeled. But what are some of the downsides? Some of the things they should think about when really knowing that there's some downside. This might not work out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a business that is surrounded with people, right? And whenever someone asks me what's the hardest part of this business, I say the hardest part of any business is people. And I'm
Mm.
actually not talking about the seniors. Most of the seniors are lovely and wonderful and they're non-issues. It is the
Yeah.
families who come with them, right? They have
Yeah.
high expectations. There's a lot of emotions involved. And this is a very expensive time of their life. We're dealing with the sandwich generation right now, who have kids that they're still funding, because the world is very different these days. And there's not many people who are my age and younger who can actually take care of themselves out there.
Mm.
And then they have an adult loved one who now also needs them. And so they've got both of these pressures coming in. Everyone needs them. Everyone needs their money. There's a lot of financial, stuff happening right now. And so they come to
Mhm.
you and you say, hey, the rates in our home are 6 grand a month. And that's not unheard of. That's in some areas on the low end. And it's like, oh my gosh. And they're super upset or they feel a type of way. But what are the options? Are you going to quit your job and take care of mom or dad full time? You can't do that. Most people have to go to work these days. So it's a really interesting time in our country, because
Mm.
there's this massive silver tsunami of seniors. There's so many seniors who are going to need this. There's not enough beds. The people who are right there, who have to usually pay for mom or dad to go into these care homes, they're being squeezed. And so it's just a really interesting mess of a situation.
Mm. But why residential versus commercial deals? Why not buy I'm making this up, a small hotel? I'm not saying that our people could do that, but probably some of them can. But why not a small hotel versus a single family residence?
For us, it really comes down to the quality of care. If you've ever had a loved one in a big box facility, like we talked about in an earlier segment, the typical ratio is 30 seniors to one caregiver in a big box facility. And
Mm.
so their care is trash, for lack of a better word. They're getting
Mm.
left for hours and hours and hours at a time. You'd be shocked at the stories I hear every
Mm.
single day of someone, oh, my call button, the battery went out and no one came to my room for 8 hours later. I,
Oh my gosh.
go ahead.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Oh, yeah. People double diapered, UTIs, brain bleeds. They fell and broke their arm, had to army crawl to go get help. The care is terrible. We should be pissed that these facilities are even allowed to be open and running. As a country, this is not okay. And as human beings, this is not okay. So
Yeah.
we focus on residential assisted living because a 4-to-1 ratio, a 5-to-1 ratio, we have eyes on your loved one all the time.
Mm.
24/7 care. It is a lot easier to manage a small amount. And We have a huge real estate opportunity in our country right now with the baby boomers graduating,
Mhm.
right? There's going to be a huge influx
Yep.
of real estate coming into the market. They
Yep.
control over 50% of the real estate in our country today. That's a huge opportunity. And half the people can't afford the real estate because they don't know what they do with it to cash flow. I sure know what I do with it.
Mm. Buy more and more of these. And I think you personally said you had three, or is it your company has three?
No, so my family. So when my dad passed, he passed them to me and my siblings.
Got it. Got it. And that's been obviously it's been profitable. So, okay, here's a question because we're talking about making money with these. Does it make sense? What's a typical ROI? Return on investment. If I put in X, I get X. Hard question, but I'm just looking in general. I'm just looking for numbers for me.
Yeah, it really, really, really ranges. And so it's tough to
Yep.
say. But
Yep.
most investors can look for at least a 12 to 15% ROI if you're looking to invest in someone who's going to do this.
Yep. Then what about banks? Are banks more willing to help me because they know there's a shortage of beds, or no?
When we work with our students and we create custom business plans and pro formas and all these different things to present to private money, hard money bank, USDA loans, SBA lenders, we can present a pretty good argument there for you so that you look very attractive as an investment. And it's not just looking attractive, you are attractive, right? My dad used to say this was the easiest thing I ever raised capital for. And a lot of our
Mm.
students have said the exact same thing because the reality is the cash flow is good, but most importantly, every single person that we talk to has an elderly loved one or a story that they can relate to. So it just makes sense.
So since it makes sense, it's probably just like your dad was saying, it's easy to raise capital.
Yeah.
It's got to be easier to raise capital for this than it is whatever, I don't know, tax liens or buying a business, et cetera. Correct?
Yeah, because it's emotional, it's heartfelt,
Yeah.
right? Like, and also the reality is raise your hand if you're getting older or know someone who is, right? Like we're all aging, we're all going to deal with this to one degree or another. It is literally inevitable. The reality is every single person on planet Earth will get involved in senior housing one way or another. Either they're going to be writing the check for someone who's laying in the bed, or they're going to be laying in the bed themselves, or they could be owning and operating the real estate in the business, cash flowing and leaving a legacy for their family, not burdens, but blessings, a cash flowing business that anyone in the family could go into if they need care and assistance. And it just continues to go through generation to generation.
Hmm. Yeah, so you've impressed me. There's no doubt. So, kind of, landing this plane. Why don't we go over some specifics about kind of your firm, what it's like to be a student, what it's like, what's the quote engagement like, and then finally how to get a hold of you. So I'm going to throw that out. There's a lot of things there, but to unwrap. But why not number one? Why you guys? Why RAL Academy?
Yeah, well, pretty much everyone else who teaches and trains on this, number one, they usually are showing you how to live in the home and work in the home because about 80% of this industry is currently run mom and pop. So it's usually an immigrant from another country who came over. They have a heart for seniors. They live in the home, care for the seniors themselves, and kind of run it just out of the own goodness of their heart. They might cash flow, but that's not really why they got into this. They got into this because they love seniors. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't do that. We are showing you how to run this as a business professional, as an investor, as an entrepreneur. So that's really what sets us apart. Not only that, but the fact that we've been in the business for over 10 years, we do this ourselves. In our 3-day training, you literally drive by our homes so you can see them and really understand what this looks like from the inside out. We show you virtual video tours and really let you experience this from start to finish. Everyone who teaches and trains at our academy, they were past students. So they were in the class, they went out, got their own homes up and running, and now they're back to teach and train you how to do it too. And so it's really fun because they get to share their expert advice from what they learned along the way. And it's been a lot of fun. We're a family business. Like my dad owned it, passed it to me. I work with my siblings and some of my cousins and my uncles, and we really try to make all of our students become a part of the RAL family. Whether or not they open a care home, it's just a great opportunity to learn about a different investment strategy and probably where you and your loved ones are going to want to go if you ever need assisted living. Once you're aware of this, you're like, oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
knew there had to be something else and I didn't know what it was. And now I know, and that's where I want to go. So it's just a good educational event. And for our investors who are serious about getting started, it is the place to be. We've got thousands of successful students across the country in all 50 states. And we love sharing with people how to do this because it's such an impactful and heartfelt industry. Our company motto is to do good and do well. And so we love showing people how to be able to do that.
I know. I love that. I love that. So a typical engagement. I'm kind of seeing between the lines. Basically, what you're saying is it's a student-teacher relationship. You have a bunch of online, I guess, tools, videos, et cetera. Correct?
Yep.
Yep. And then at the same time, I can go there to Phoenix at one of the boots on the ground type of thing. That's probably every quarter, I gotta assume. Is that right?
We host them 8 times per year, 8 3 day
Oh, a
fast
lot.
track
Okay.
training.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Got it. So I can come there with all the questions I want,
Yep.
and then basically feel like you guys are hand holding me.
Oh, yeah. We're going to walk you through A to Z so that you leave knowing exactly what to do. We do offer coaching and mentoring after the fact, but most of our students are pretty good with their real estate background coming in. We show them what to do and they've got it.
Got it. Oh wow. Okay. I figured I'd have to bone up and probably borrow someone, but it sounds like that's not the case. It sounds like I could just kind of bone up on my own and just kind of go.
If you want to, and if you want to be able to call us, 24/7 and have access to the whole team, we do have that available. So it's really a personal decision. Not everyone needs, that insurance policy. Some people say, I've done a million deals, I've been there, done that. I know how to raise capital. I know how to, deal with zoning and an HOA and this and that. And so they don't need as much help. But other people, we get a lot of medical professionals who come to the training as well. And
Bet.
so our youngest student, he was 22 years old. He didn't even own his own home yet. He was living in an apartment when he got his care home up and running. That was the first piece of real estate he'd ever purchased. So we have students as young as 22, as old as 72. So it really just depends on where you are in your investing journey.
I know I could say I know a couple or a few people who've gone to your who've signed up, and I know that specifically one dude who was ridiculously rich. He loved it, and this guy he had some money behind him. He loved it. He said it really added value to him. So kudos to you. So if someone does want to join and be a student, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, check out ral101.com. You can sign up for our online course there or check out one of our live trainings. We have them about every 6 to 8 weeks. So we've got a couple events left this year and we'd love to see you in class. So ral101.com.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been time for us to hang out with Isabelle Guarino. Truly, obviously, you can tell she knows what's going on when it comes to senior housing. It's a new industry, but man, they've really guided the industry, and it sounds like it's in good hands. So once again, this is Kenneth French with vastsolutionsgroup.com. Vast Voice. We're telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thank you for spending the time either watching or listening. It's been a complete pleasure, and hopefully you're going to get rich from this.